we all want to drive more traffic to our website, but we also want to know what's effective and what's not effective at helping us reach our goal. So let's just take Innovate Medical as just an example, because you have some lead generation, but do you have any e-commerce? You don't have any e-commerce on the site functionality.
Yep.
So that's why I like it as an example, because like for you guys, in my mind, you're gonna have either it's a lead or there's no lead. But then there's this whole middle ground that you don't really know what's happening. And so when we talk about goals, I'll kind of like bring that example through, because we can set up goals that basically anyone, I'll show you guys how to do this in the last exercise, is you can set up a goal where you just say like, this is a success, I want to count this as a thing if a user comes to my website and within that same session views like these 3 pages or more than 2 pages or spends more than the average amount of time on my website. Things like that will then indicate that that's a quality web user. So now you have this thing conceptually that is in between a conversion and just web traffic that's called a quality web user. So you can track that, and then you can see in your acquisition reports, which you'll go to under acquisition and then all traffic, and then channels, you'll see this view where you can see at a high level paid search, which includes everything where you would pay for a click, so Google, Bing, all of those networks. Organic search, which is your SEO on Google and Bing. Direct, which is people directly typing in your web URL. Referral, which is any website that's linking to you, any web link, even a link from an email. Email, which is email marketing. So that would be like your Emma or your MailChimp or Constant Contact data. Social, which aggregates together all of your social media, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Display, which is its own category outside of paid search, which would include any Google display campaigns.
What's referral?
Referral is going to be any link, any hyperlink to your website. So it'll include social media actually on a few different views. In this view, it's pulled out separately from social media. It's going to be anything like a partnership. Like let's say, Paul writes for Forbes, right? So like the Forbes link to New Heartland Group is going to show up under referral. And it's going to say 211 session, or 200 out of the 211 sessions came from Forbes, which would be amazing. And then 6 people transacted, so that, this is where I was going, Megan. So like now over here under your conversion side, it starts to make even more sense to use this as a tool because you've got the ability to see, this happens to be an e-commerce site, but this drop-down menu could be any of your, they give you 20 goals on each view. So we could set up, here's an example. The average user spends 2 minutes on this site. So 4 minutes would be obviously double the average user, which would be an extremely qualified web user. So we can set up a goal that would show up over here, and the goal can be spent 4 minutes or more on the site. And now all of a sudden, that is a conversion that we can see. All right, let's just pretend that that's what this says. So 50 people from our paid search campaigns spent 4 minutes on the site. That would be an indicator, even if there's only like 1 lead, it would be actually an indicator that in that time frame, it's actually working. It's bringing in people who, depending on your sales cycle, you got to think through, like, would they fill out the form in the first week anyway? Or would they come to the site, check it out, come back, talk to people, whatever. I'll show you some other cool stuff around that. But I just want to stop there and say, this is the basic level acquisition report where you can drill down, think of things from 2 different ways. One, what data is here that could inform me where there's opportunity to maybe go get more web traffic? And then 2, what do I already know about that we're doing and how well is it working?
Okay, can I ask 2 questions?
Yeah.
So on the revenue, you said that it's e-commerce site. So like for us, like do we have to load that in, like how we would quantify? Like,
what you can do in Google
like mine says 0.
You can assign a value to a goal. I'll show you how to do that. So a lot of companies will say, all right, we know that we have a 25% close rate on our lead generation forms. And so the average sale on that is X. And so they have a basic formula that tells them the value of the lead. So you can actually put that into Google Analytics. And so it wouldn't be like a straight up e-commerce number. It wouldn't make sense in that case for someone like filling out a form or viewing a page to have a value like that, like
Right.
the actual purchase, but it might be, you could put a value in there. It's an arbitrary number in a sense, but it makes sense to whoever internally has agreed upon the formula of like what's the value of a lead or what's the value of someone spending X amount of time on our site versus the average user who would spend less. You can, there's a bunch of different integrations for e-commerce, so if you did end up selling a product, you can integrate Google Analytics with like a Salesforce or other CRMs to actually retroactively assign value to, this gets into like pretty complicated coding and stuff within Google Analytics, but it is possible to do all that. It's pretty cool. So this is an acquisition report where you select source medium on the left-hand side. And I'll back out and show you guys this view too to kind of recap this. But source medium gets a little bit more detailed because you can see it starts to compare a little bit more around like how is, where the first view showed paid search. Now you can compare like how is Google paid search versus Bing paid search. How is Yahoo organic versus Bing organic versus Google organic. And you can actually like expand this to show 500 rows. So you could really see how is all under source medium, like how is any traffic source performing against any other traffic source as it relates to bringing in visitors, which is why I like the source medium view. Here's an example of referral source, Sherry. So like this website had an article on InStyle.com that sent 336 sessions. Actually did really, so in interpreting this, like I would say this did actually really well because even though like 3 transactions off of an article compared to anything else, Facebook had 5, Facebook had 7, actually that's mobile Facebook. But like out of the 240 unique people or new people that came in through this InStyle article, they didn't just read the page that they came in on. They actually saw 5.5 more pages of that website, and then they spent 90 more seconds, and 3 of them made a purchase. So that would be like, okay, we should figure out more partnerships like that InStyle partnership, or we should maybe go back. Now we know that InStyle.com audience is really interested in our particular business.
So if somebody paid for advertising on your website, that link, you can go back and say to them,
Yes.
because you know sometimes they'll say, well, we didn't get anything from that.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly.
it's like, really? You know, but you
Yeah.
have the numbers there.
Yes, 100%. So any publisher should be, you know, if you're selling advertising space, looking at this data and figuring out where it's valuable to your advertisers and then reporting back to them on it, and vice versa. Anyone who's buying media should be making sure that they're looking at their own Google Analytics data as it relates to what media they're buying, because the media company, like no offense to like media salespeople, they're just doing their job, but the reality is like the report they're giving you is always going to look really good. And so you want to look at your own Google Analytics data and cross-reference that for what your goals are, your literal goals in Google Analytics, which I'm kind of building up to like the goal. The goal part is my favorite part. We haven't even got there yet.
I'm looking at this and there's a lot of bounce rates at 100%. How could it be 100%? Wouldn't that mean they never even got there, or am I just?
The thing about bounce rate is each page has its own bounce rate, and then each drilling down on the page, each referral source has its own bounce rate as well. So it could have something to do, like essentially, it does mean that like everyone's bouncing off of that page. So it could be something about the content on that page that needs to be addressed, or it could be some kind of technical issue with the page that might need to be addressed.
Or like
so-
there's one person here, Brasserie of Bread.
There's
They
also
said They
bo-
came on and it was just,
There's also bots, so that's
Oh,
another
okay.
thing about filters. Why filters may need to have it doesn't happen on all websites, but in some cases there'll basically be bots that will crawl websites, and so I've seen a lot of times where if everything's a 100% bounce rate, chances are that it's not actually real human traffic, and so what we can do is go into referral sources and find if there's any IP addresses that are showing, and then we can filter out those IP addresses. So those would be kind of some things that I would maybe make note of, Sherry, like you were talking about earlier. So one last thing under acquisition reports. I just want to talk about the case I talked about earlier, where I said, okay, in Q3 there was like this massive traffic drop off. In that particular case, it had to do with, you can kind of see, I just took screenshots and put them right here. So like direct traffic dropped off, display traffic dropped off, and social traffic dropped off, and so did referral traffic, but not any one had an impact like organic search. So there was some huge SEO issue with this particular website. And when I showed this to the owner of the business, and he said, oh yeah, well that was exactly when our website got hacked and went down. And so you can now you can like quantify, I mean, in this case, it's quantifying the impact that has on your, like something like that would have on your SEO, and then what SEO, so twofold, then what SEO, because it's not the same for all businesses. In his case, SEO, he was relying on heavily, and it totally plummeted almost all of his web traffic during that time frame. And it's taken several months to build that back up. So that's just